Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for this panel session on making recourse clear, quick, and responsive. I'm Shruti Sharma, Program Officer at the United Nations Better Than Cash Alliance. I would like to start by introducing our esteemed panelists in order of how they'll be speaking initially. We have with us Camilo Teles Merchant, Deputy Managing Director at the United Nations Better Than Cash Alliance. Then we are excited to have our government members to bring in a unique country expertise. To start with, from regulators' perspective, we have with us Ati Sharina, Officer in charge of the Financial Inclusion and Consumer Empowerment subsector at Banco Central Filipina. We have with us Kwame Opong, Head of FinTech and Innovation at the Bank of Ghana. For us to be hearing policymakers' views, we have Libna Para, Deputy Director for Comparative Analysis of Financial Products and Services at CONDUCEF, Mexico, the National Commission for the Protection and Defense of Financial Services. Last but not the least, to talk about the role of financial service providers, we have with us Nitin Garg, founder of Flow Global, a fintech providing digital financial solutions to small businesses in East Africa and Madagascar. The discussion for today's panel session is going to build on what we have been discussing with all of these members over the last couple of months as part of the Responsible Finance Forum's Recourse Working Group. So to start, I would like to call upon Camilo to provide us an overview on Recourse Working Group and highlight some of the key messages that came out clearly during the working group discussions to strengthen the recourse mechanisms. Over to you, Camilo.
Thank you very much, Shruti, and thanks again to our colleagues at the Center for Financial Inclusion for inviting us to host this event, as well as to our government counterparts, to the BSP and Bank of Ghana, to CONDUCEF in Mexico, and of course to Nitin. It's great to see now as we come to this final stage of the recourse working group that we have all been contributing to over the last year, whose aim was to facilitate knowledge sharing and to strengthen recourse mechanisms, wanting to make sure that we focused on prioritizing users and ensuring a more equitable access to deliver accountable solutions in a timely manner for users. The main deliverable, as Shruti mentioned, is going to be a technical note, which will be launched in the next couple of weeks. And just to frame the discussion, I just wanted to give a little bit of an importance of the topic on why, if we look at the numbers from the Global Findex, they really reinforce the critical importance of financial equality for all, but more importantly, because of the acceleration of digital payments throughout the pandemic. We've also seen a massive surge in the use of digital payments. Billions of people now have access to essential financial services, which is great. However, this exponential growth has really brought about also an upswing in disputes and grievances, and really underscores the necessity to ensure that there's accurate redressal systems, that evolve in tandem with this growth. As we know, the complexity of the digital payments ecosystem, the value chains are making it harder for users when they encounter difficulties to comprehend, navigate this resolution process. And essentially, we're living in a world where also transactions are becoming much more complex. Therefore, it is really important that both governments, regulators, private sector, financial service providers, all are working together to ensuring that recourse is improving with technology. So just wanted to highlight some of the key recommendations that our esteemed panelists will be covering. The first one is the prioritization of responsible data use and informed consent. And this, one of the points that has come clearly is that regulators can strengthen data usage policies to prioritize informed consent and responsible data handling, and critical that users also have a clear understanding of how their data is being used. One way of doing this is actually by incorporating data protection clauses into service level agreements with digital payment partners. A second recommendation is around the promotion of responsible AI practices. Yesterday, I know there were some really fascinating conversations within Financial Inclusion Week on this topic, and we want to highlight it once again more because it is a theme that cuts across. Here, governments and regulators should promote ethical artificial intelligence policies and guidelines that are really focused and grounded on empirical research, part of broader stakeholder consultations, and ensuring that pilot initiatives are taking place to ensure their effectiveness and national level relevance as well. Finally, promoting active stakeholder engagement. We know that establishing mechanisms to actively engage with industry, public-private collaboration with stakeholders is critical. This should incentivize that stakeholders also cater to marginalized groups. Oversight committees comprising chief regulators, industry experts, and thought leaders can play a really pivotal role as part of this effort. And finally, enhancing assessment mechanisms. So it's really important to strengthen policies that assess and improve PSP services, right? Permanent payment service providers. And this can include periodic spot checks, user rating of agents, and conducting feedback surveys. So those are just some sort of kind of like high level recommendations that we're finding on the technical note. I'll pass it on now to the experts for a really, really fruitful discussion. So over to you, Shruti. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Camilo, for setting the context for the panel session. And from the several messages that you highlighted around technology, chatbots, I would like to start the discussion with a focus on striking a balance between leveraging technology and traditional recourse methods. It is inspiring to see regulators leading by example in keeping up pace with rapid technological advancements. And today we have regulators from Philippines and Ghana, both of whom have introduced chatbots to streamline recourse processes. But one of the aspects that came out during the discussions in the working group was around, of course, technology can enhance efficiency, but it is important to acknowledge that some users may prefer human interaction, especially while they are transitioning and understanding how to use technology. So I would like to ask Aticha and Kwame to share their experiences in adopting this balanced approach and leveraging automation to expedite processes while maintaining the human involvement element to ensure that it aligns with users' comfort and familiarity. Starting with Cha, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Shruti, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all our participants and viewers here. Yes, to answer your question, in the case of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, of course, the main drivers of deploying the technology-driven solution like the chatbot are, as you've mentioned, operational efficiency and to democratize access as well to our redress mechanism by financial consumers, which again is also intertwined with our financial inclusion objectives. So as a regulator, we needed and we wanted to walk our talk when we provide services to our clients. For example, when we provide recourse. So for the BSP chatbot, which you all know as Bob, we had to listen to the public's feedback with regard to their experience whenever they use our complaints portal. So we were mindful of the limitations of the clients, like their internet connectivity. Some were still more comfortable using the traditional channels like talking, using the phone, calling our customer service agents, or even sending letters. So these are segments of society like the elderly or those in the rural areas who would still prefer the traditional channels. So we took note of that. And while of course our office wanted to, have 100% usage of the chatbot, we were mindful of that small segment who were still comfortable using the traditional channels. So just to share some data, like in 2022, there were 75% of the total complaints filed with the BSP were directly lodged using the chatbot, and the 24% used the traditional channel. So we started at 12% in 2020 when Bob was first launched at the height of the pandemic. So you will see the transition as well, starting from 12% and now we are at 75%. So we see that the consumers are also getting used to this to this chatbot. And having this in mind, we are conscious of the needs of our stakeholders, and we wanted to ensure that the tech solutions that we adopt and we roll out do not result to exclusion and would, of course, provide better customer experience as well as responsible outcomes. Thank you.
It is very impressive, the transition from 12 to 75%. And great to see that you have been implementing responsible practices. I would like to pass the floor to Kwame to add to the same question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so I share a lot of the sentiments that an experience that Banco Filipina has shared. And we also expect that this is about the journey that having introduced a chatbot called Akushika, we're likely to also travel through. The important thing, I think it comes down to being human-centered. Certainly not everyone is going to be able to adopt the technology-enabled services, automation that today is being developed. And for us to really be able to adequately cover everyone, it is important that we look both to technology and sometimes even to non-technology solutions, because innovation is not necessarily technology-driven. It's also in process. And so when we look at our customer recourse guidelines, which really fills the spirit through which we enforce our recourse mechanisms, we also note that while the spirit of that policy is to ensure that consumers are fully protected, it would not always give you the specifics of how it's done. Every service provider, with the nature of their service, knowing the nature of clients they're dealing with, would be able to fashion out the type of recourse mechanisms and or an approach to implementation that helps achieve the objectives. So for us as supervisors, this is where we make sure that there isn't a disproportionately or unreasonable dependency on automation, so that you have a good complement of technology that is enabling not just the front end, but often on the back end. But when it comes to the human interaction part, there is adequate allocation being made for those who are either vulnerable, have literacy challenges, or are generally more comfortable with the human interaction first. They will eventually migrate, they will eventually move up the journey, but until then, that needs to be there to embolden and give them the comfort that they need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kwame and Cha, for bringing in these important perspectives. And also it is a great start and testament to see, even talking about different regions, the fundamental challenges and solutions to transitioning to the use of technology for recourse remains quite similar. Moving on to the next part, once we ensure that users are comfortable with navigating the processes for filing a complaint, the next critical step is providing visibility and clarity regarding the resolution time. So filing a complaint should immediately outline a fixed resolution time and provide regular update to users. That's one of the most important recommendations that came out of the working group discussion and from the UN Responsible Principle 8 on strengthening recourse mechanisms. So I would like to now ask Libna and Nitin, how have you been ensuring timely resolutions that offer a predictable experience for users? Starting with Libna, to bring in the policymaker's perspective, how have you been implementing policies where the financial institutions or financial service providers in your country must acknowledge and provide updates within a fixed time for referred cases? Over to you, Libna.
Thank you very much. So Shruti, From the point of view of the government here in Mexico, we have implemented different channels, different means of attention to the financial services users. So one of the things that we have been carried out from the past, for the past few years due to the pandemic was to have different means of attention from these users that were basically we want to help them to get their processes in time. So regarding the things that happen here in Mexico is that we have also a financial entities bureau, and our law is very clear on this aspect, and it says that we have to attend these claims, and we have to give them a resolution within 20 working days. So this is how our mechanisms result or turn into a better practice and to attend these financial services users, and they can have also their responses on time. We have also, due to the pandemic, implemented this phone conciliation, these conciliation hearings, so financial services users can have this mechanism and they don't have to come here to Conducef to carry out this process. So they can have within these 20 working days the solution and the resolution to see if their matter is favorable to them or not. So we think this is just a few steps forward within the financial and the recourse mechanisms the users need.
Thank you, Libna. This is fantastic. You having the mandate to respond within the fixed timeline. That's very important. Nitin, I am excited to ask you the same question. I know you have an impressive resolution time of 6 minutes. So please tell us more about it.
Yeah, because we are providers, we cannot wait for too much time, because these customers have done a transaction and we want to resolve it so that it doesn't go to any of the hierarchies. It doesn't go to the central bank, for example. If we are operating in Philippines, we'll make sure that nothing goes to the chatbot from our side. Okay, so that is our objective. So there is a lot that goes on behind the scene to make sure that the resolution happens within 6 minutes, right? Because there are different kind of escalation metrics that are there, which are designed within the system, depending on the type of complaint that we receive. Then there are different channels through which we receive these complaints. So we have to make sure that through those channels, it is always tagged to the RM, so that we are able to kind of find the type of issue. So I think the simple answer to that would be that it takes a lot of time to reach this level, because the resolution time of 6 minutes is just the front end, but there is a lot that happens to make sure that it happens within that time at the back end. And you need to have those kind of system built in to make sure that, okay, based on the type of complaint, this goes to this level, this goes to this level. So those are the kind of system that we have tried to build, and we are still actively trying to reduce the time. But what is more important to the customer that we have learned from the market than anything else is to keep the communication on. So even if sometimes it takes more time than usual, as long as we keep communicating to the customer and keep telling him, okay, this is taking longer than usual, and we will come back to you within like 12 hours or 10 hours, then they are always fine with it, right? The thing is, the problem is when we don't communicate if there is a delay. But even if there is a delay and we communicate to them, they are still kind of usually fine with us. Yeah.
Absolutely. These processes are always complex, but great to see how you have been leveraging technology and complaint data to maintain a fixed timeline for resolution process. Thank you both for highlighting these very important points. While we started with talking about leveraging technology for recourse, I would like to bring the focus back on what Camillo also mentioned initially, promoting responsible AI practices. As we know that AI and other programming languages rely heavily on data, which may sometimes lead to biases and misleading trends, particularly for women. I would also like to highlight here a key finding from the analysis of ChatGPT's financial advice. The model suggested that men rather than women prioritize creating wills and be designated for their assets, reflecting an implicit assumption of men being in charge of finances, which again highlights the importance that it is important to identify and rectify these kind of inbuilt discriminatory biases in AI algorithms to promote fairness and reduce gender disparities. So I would like to ask Cha and Kwame if they could please share their vision, or if they already have legal and regulatory frameworks they have put in place to promote ethical AI policies or safeguarding client data to ensure accountability and transparency. Over to you, Kwame.
Thank you very much, Shruti. So this is a very important issue that confronts every central bank, developing markets, developed markets. And so far, we're seeing different approaches. So in Ghana, for instance, we don't have a full AI policy or regulatory position put out there yet. But as it stands, the collective efforts of how we implement from licensing through product authorization to market conduct monitoring, AI is an area that we look into. So for instance, if a fintech is looking into going into lending, digital credit, we want to be able to understand what is entailed in that algorithm and that credit scoring model. What is happening in there? In fact, we have a licensing category targeted at the credit scoring dimension, just so we can get a sense of what's really under the hood. Because as you mentioned, the biases of the past could not only be repeated in future, it could actually be perpetuated and amplified further. Gender biases, racial biases, age-related biases, and social biases can be further exploited. And so this is very important for us as it relates to our financial inclusion efforts. So what we are doing is that thus far, as we continue to study it and determine how we address it, we have a data protection law that covers this. We have a recourse mechanism, guideline, that also provides enough of a backing. But fortunately, our Payment Act gives us the legal context and capability to be able to look into some of these issues a bit deeper and on a case-by-case basis, be able to address them. But fundamentally, the principles of consumer protection are still supposed to be enforced, even in the case of AI introduction. It is supposed to be of value, not to come and be a problem to further exacerbate what we're trying to solve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kwame, for expanding this point to social, racial, and other cultural biases. We definitely cannot carry these biases of past and future. Very well said. I would now like to ask Cha to respond to the same question and share her views on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. Yeah, so in the case of the Philippines or in the Bangko Sentral, currently the central bank is developing a framework with regard to AI use, and of course, that would include the ethical AI policies. But in terms of the legal and regulatory framework for the FSPs, we are guided by the Financial Consumer Protection Act, which I've mentioned in discussions. This was just enacted in 2022, and under this law, the expectation is for the financial service providers to adhere to the following 5 consumer protection standards. And these are fair treatment, disclosure and transparency, confidentiality and privacy of data, efficient, of course, efficient redress mechanism and protection of client assets from fraud and misuse. So taking all of these consumer protection standards as a whole, and when a financial service provider develops a product as well as services, which may include AI. So this should be taken into consideration, when they roll out or offer the services to their clients. So these consumer protection standards actually apply not
Is it
only
just
to the
Sharina?
traditional products, but also to digital products. So whatever innovative product or service being introduced to the consumers, they should all be mindful of these the 5 consumer protection standards. And in addition, the BSP has also issued some regulations on IT risk management to ensure that these products comply with certain IT standards and registration and licensing risk requirements. So these will in effect ensure that that the products offered to consumers will do no harm, or at least lessen the risks to consumer, and also, of course, lessen some biases. And when the FSPs, implement and consider all of these consumer protection standards, these will also foster trust and confidence in the financial system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is very impressive to see BSP and Bank of Ghana leading and guiding to ensure accountability and transparency for effectively leveraging technologies. While we are talking about these biases and prioritizing women, from the government's perspective, I would like to ask Libna to share an experience or example of how CONDUCEF Mexico has been ensuring women's easy access to information in order to enable them to make informed decisions. Over to you, Libna.
Thank you very much. So, surely also in the case of Mexico, we have the preventive attention means, we aim to promote financial education. So we have from the past almost 25 years of existence, we have implemented a financial education program that allows the financial services users, not only women, it is very important, but we think that financial education is one of the most useful tools that consumer or financial services users, and also from the point of view of most population, we know that financial education can make and can allow users to have this knowledge of their rights and obligations. Also, we know that financial education can improve their ability of choice of choosing the adequate product, financial product, and it also efficient use of financial products and services. So with this financial education program, we have different stages and different topics related to how to use a financial product. So we have printed materials, we have also multimedia tools, we have these videos and games, and we have also implemented the National Week of Financial Literacy. This is the 16th time that we have carried out this important event, and it is the most important event that we have here in Mexico, because also it brings together all the public and private and all the private institutions, so they can give financial education, not only to show the users how to use their product and how to have this product. That means including the people, right, to use some of the things that they offer, but also to give them information, to educate people that is I think that would be our first goal. So every Mexican here, and also for all the women's, we have these courses, and we have been leading one of the most important course that we called Proyecto Minerva, and it is this course that give the women some information regarding how to use their financial services products and how to be informed, keep informed of these things, how to access credit also. We think also that when women have this all this financial education program, they could use financial products and they could benefit from all of them. So I think this is one of the things that we've been carried out for the past 25 years.
Thank you very much, Livna. Absolutely. It is very important to create awareness and help users make informed choices, especially women. And while we are still discussing about, we have gender focus right now. So Nitin, I would also like to ask, how have you been collecting and using sex disaggregated data to address the unique needs and preferences of women in recourse processes? Over to you.
Yeah, so we don't only look at the gender specific data, but for us, because being a provider, it's important to kind of segment our customers into different segments and then look at the differentiations there, or look at leads on how they are using the recourse, and is there something that we need to improve to make sure that this segment also uses the recourse. So that is what we look at. So we basically segregate data on within different segments, and definitely gender is one of the major segments because 47% of our customers are women businesses who are actually usually first-time borrowers or first-time users of any financial institution. So, and also for the first time, they are going on a mobile and kind of applying for the loans and that kind of stuff. So that's why it's important for us to make sure that all the different segments are looked at and analyzed for how they use the recourse. For example, which channels they use more. Is there any specific problem that they face more than others? Okay, or a particular segment is facing more than others. For example, we have a lot of field officers who are also female and like women field officers. And we wanted to look at, is it always like the female businesses are more comfortable in kind of sharing their problems with the same gender loan officers? It doesn't really, but we looked at that. The point is you're not able to gain any information, but these are some of the things that we keep looking at, because as a provider, for us, it is very important to make sure that all the segments that we have, we are addressing the specific needs of every segment, and we are not leaving any segment behind. So that is why we do look at the gender segregated data, but yeah, but just to make sure that we are not missing anything.
Thank you, Nitin, for highlighting these important points. And you rightly said that many women users might be the first-time users. They might not have digital trails. So it's important when you are creating those solutions, you be inclusive. And also, like the point that you mentioned around female officers, women might not be comfortable interacting with male resource managers or officers. That's one of the important recommendations under the responsible principle on recourse as well. So it's great to see that how you have been implementing it. Thank you for highlighting this. As we are halfway through, and we have been discussing a lot of important aspects such as responsible AI, data protection, prioritizing women, transparency. it would be a timely discussion to see the need for enhanced coordination among various departments, ministries, in interministerial bodies and regulatory authorities, which was a key point that came out during the Recourse working group discussions. So I would like to ask Cha and Kwame to share their experiences, how they have been ensuring this effective coordination within your respective countries in recourse-related matters to provide seamless recourse to users. Maybe Cha, you can go first, or
Okay,
any one of
sure.
you.
Okay, yeah, so I'll go ahead. Yes, in the case of the Philippines, just to share with you how we went about the passage of our new law that I have previously discussed, which is the Financial Consumer Protection Act. So at the get-go, we already onboarded other financial regulators when we were still developing and crafting the law, the provisions of the law, because it is very important for the financial regulators, to have a cohesive and a unified approach in consumer protection. So at the very start, they were already with us. So the BSP was pushing and leading for the enactment of this law. But we consulted also the other financial regulators, such as the Insurance Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Cooperative Development Authority. So it was a collaboration with among the financial regulators, which eventually led to the passage of the law. So in that case, it was a united effort, not just from the central bank, but also from other financial regulators. So we see that as a very important component in pushing for the consumer protection agenda. And so with that, at the beginning of our conversation of our journey to have this law passed, we were able to already establish relationships and the network. So even after the passage of the law, that interagency technical working group that we established still continues. So until now, we do some informal coordination. So just sending a text message or a social media message through the social media platform messaging app. So we do those kinds of coordination, but we also would like to have in place a more institutionalized framework for coordination. So that it will be on a more regular and a structured basis. So that's one of the things that is in the pipeline. But having that good relationship with the other regulators made coordination easier for us, and especially so when when it comes to complaints handling, because right now because of the cross-cutting issues and the products that may be offered by dually regulated institutions, so we really need to coordinate with other financial regulators, and we are also expanding that network to other regulators which are not part of the financial regulators group. So we have also reached out to the Department of Trade and Industry, the Privacy Commission. So these are in addition to the existing technical working group. And in addition to that, of course, we need to collaborate and coordinate with the financial service providers. So we have regular meetings and discussions with the industry associations. And now that we have our new mandate of market conduct supervision, we are now becoming more proactive and more, in engaging our supervised institutions. So we also reach out to them when there are emerging issues or risks. So that's one of the mechanisms that we do right now. And of course, it's a given that within the BSP, we need to coordinate with other offices, because there are also other offices involved in the redress mechanism. So as much as possible, we try to maintain that relationship and enhance those relationships. So because as we always say, consumer protection is a shared responsibility. So we really reach out to all our stakeholders just to pursue our consumer protection agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shah. This is amazing that how coordinated you are in Philippines despite having different mandates. And that's a great practical example that you said how this coordination turned out into a law. So like it's quite impressive. I would like to now ask Kwame to share his experience. Over to you, Kwame.
Okay, thank you very much. So similar to what Philippines is doing, in fact, we have an institutionalized coordination process. And two elements of it on the institutionalization part is the fact that at the higher level, we have a financial stability council that is looking at financial stability more broadly across various financial sector regulators. So the Insurance Commission, the Central Bank, etc., in the financial sector. Then we also have established an MOU with the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization. The reason particularly here is that many of these services obviously are running on communication infrastructure. And so you could, for instance, have complaints about mobile money coming to them, or you could have complaints about perhaps a telecom related credit service like airtime credits coming to us. Now, what is important in there is that if we don't have an operationally efficient coordinating mechanism, we're going to basically drop the ball at the regulatory level or the supervisory level. And our ability to coordinate and ensure that the right thing is being done by consumers cannot be achieved. And as Shah mentioned, financial service delivery is now gotten unbundled, and you have various actors playing in the space. So fintechs, mobile money players, you have banks, you have non-bank financial institutions, all of them being involved along the value chain. And so that also requires that we are coordinating with other financial service supervisors in ensuring a certain uniform standard in implementing recourse mechanisms. For instance, when we were putting in place the laws regulating the financial sector, so the Payment Systems and Services Act, and in fact, every other policy prior to that and subsequent to that, whether a simple directive or guideline, we actually involve the other regulators as well, so that they can make an input in formulating that. Because if a fintech, for instance, creates a marketplace based on their license today with a central bank, and the marketplace of financial services is also retailing services that are, let's say, insurance or pensions for informal sector. When there's a problem, where does the customer go? Is there clarity in terms of support approach? Is there some level of equivalence in terms of the level of support expected of the customer on one side versus the other? Or is there a discrepancy that leads to arbitrage? So these are things that make it important that we coordinate amongst ourselves to implement. But that coordination starts from institutionalizing it, formalizing the relationship, documenting the processes, and continually reviewing to improve it, and ensuring that we are living up to the spirit of it. So we recently had an interesting interaction or activity. It was more of a market conduct intervention that we, for instance, coordinated with the Cybersecurity Authority on, as well as the Communications Authority. It had to do with illegal lenders in the markets doing digital credits, but that's an example of how we have found success in coordinating amongst ourselves to address a shared problem, and also to ensure that the consumer is protected across all the different tiers. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. I think this is very impressive, and MOE is an excellent way for enhancing coordination. And thank you very much, Shah and Kwame, for these powerful messages on this important issue. So it's absolutely clear that there are numerous stakeholders involved and how important it is to implement a whole of government approach despite having varying mandates. So it's quite impressive. Thank you for sharing your learnings and experiences. Okay, so now we have one last question for all panelists, and I would like to request all of you to be very brief, just 30 seconds or maximum 45 seconds, please share one current key challenge that you all are addressing or foresee addressing in the coming months to enhance the efficiency of recourse mechanisms in your respective countries. Starting with Kwame, if you want to go first.
Sure. Thank you. So I think in Ghana, one of the things that we have seen is subsequent to introducing the law that covers fintechs now, putting in place a set of policies that promotes fintech in addition to supervising the space, we've actually noticed, obviously, an increase in service providers who are bringing this innovation to market. But that also means you're going to see a nominal increase in complaints. And so our bigger challenge now is to ensure that for all of these new innovators coming onto the market with their unique innovation that is useful for consumers, how are they using the right recourse mechanisms, or are they using the optimal recourse mechanisms and approaches that meet the objective that we have for them? So that is where we have to work really closely with them and understand how they are working and what their solutions are in a way that we can properly advise, authorize, and monitor and supervise what they have in place. So that's where our efforts is currently going to be focused. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cha, over to you.
I think we have the same challenge as with the Bank of Ghana. So now that we have the law, we've been doing a lot of briefings. So I think the consumers or the public now are more aware of their rights and that they have this right to redress or recourse. So that's why we've been, and also having this additional and a lot of new products being offered by the financial service provider. So again, so the increase in the volume of complaints is one of the challenges that we are facing right now. And of course, we're doing a lot in order to enhance the chatbot that we have in place, and also doing some process improvements to ensure that we still respond in a timely and efficient manner to all the complaints that we're doing, and also putting premium and emphasis on the part of the financial service providers to do their part in addressing these complaints, because they are the first level of, recourse. So that's why we always ensure and remind them to make sure that they have this in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Cha. It is great to see you both echoing each other's messages. So over to you, Livna.
Thank you. Yes, such as Kwame just said, we have to implement some things regarding the fintech products. And also, I would like to highlight the importance of addressing this main issue that I think all the countries have already, and that is financial fraud. So we have to include financial fraud, to inform people, because people shall be better informed of how to access to our financial education program, how to reach conducive, also how to use these remote means, because we know now that from the pandemic we have attended 8 out of 10 controversies through the remote means. So we know that it is important to inform people how to prevent fraud, all type of fraud, and also to prevent disputes, and people should be better informed. So that is all.
Thank you, Livna. I think it was a right decision to start with you, Kwame. Everyone has been echoing your messages, so that was a great decision. Over to you, Nitin.
I was on mute. Yeah, it's difficult to pick one challenge, but yeah, one of the challenges that we always have is how do we bring customers to complain or raise an issue directly with us? Because we have field force, and they always feel more comfortable in kind of sharing their problems with the people who are on the ground, whereas we always want people to directly communicate to us. So now, so this is one of the main issues that we are trying to kind of fix. We don't want to force the customers to complain to us and don't want to stop this channel where they can raise their issues directly with the RMs, but at the same time, we also want them to be able to directly communicate with us. And that's why we are building more and more tools for them to be able to do that. So we already have the toll frees. We're also building like a flow chat buddy now, which we are trying to promote to the customers so that they start raising the issues directly with us. And in addition to that, what also that the complication that it brings in is also we have to have a very comprehensive complaint management system, even for the RMs or the relationship managers who are the first one usually to receive the issue. So we always have to manage these two at the same time. So that is one of the challenges that, yeah, I think is ongoing right now. But we are keep trying to
Thank
fix.
you. And I think for your chat buddy, you have great examples and learnings from Bank of Ghana and Bank of Philippines. So that's great. I would also, we have 5 minutes, so I would like to take 1 or 2 questions from the audience. So I am just reading these on the chat. So from regulators' perspective, we have a question: how do you envision or plan to train your staff on responsible and ethical AI? What resources do you find most useful, like global policies or other international resources on AI? And where do you see the gaps that you are looking to address? So anyone from Kwame or Cha, free to take this question.
Okay. So this is one of the first things that when the FinTech and Innovation Office was established, we looked into. And you obviously don't have AI engineers in the central bank. Nonetheless, you will always be able to ask the right questions to understand how something works and whether it's appropriate or not. So that's the first thing with regards to AI. But you have an obligation to do 2 things: to build that capacity and also to acquire that capacity. So we recently recruited someone, a solutions engineer in-house, and we're looking to recruit someone with that kind of background, AI and blockchain. But on the other hand as well, we went through an intense program of sending our innovation and supervision officers into some of the programs that are available out there from various institutions about AI. Because remember, you don't necessarily need to be able to become an AI engineer, but to understand how the concept works and be deep enough to know the right questions to ask, to be able to know what works, what does not work, what is acceptable and what is not. So capacity building and acquiring that talent and bringing them in-house, both I think would help. And the available trainings from multilateral and development partners and third parties is a very important resource. And of course, peer learning as well, a very important source of information and knowledge building, capacity building. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kwame. This is very impressive. You have already been ahead on this with hiring technical experts and building. And I recall from UN Responsible Principles that Ghana Data Commission followed the same approach by building technical capacity for building the right regulations and policies for safeguarding client data. So it's good to see that you have this approach of hiring technical experts and building capacities. I would like to ask Cha as well, that if she would like to add anything.
Yes, similar to the approach of Bank of Ghana. Of course, we don't have the AI experts in our department, so we really need to build the capacity of our staff. And what is important, I think, is the enthusiasm of the staff, as well as their interest to learn, because that's really very important. Because at first, since this is a new technology for us, we really didn't have any background on AI. So what is also important in our experience is we have this good working relationship with our service provider and also our IT department, who are the experts in this field. So they were the ones helping us to build our capacity. And also we do, of course, engage and join us in some of the trainings. And as Kwame mentioned, we have the peer learning. So these are some of the activities that we are doing, and we will also do in the future, because we are still slowly building up our capacity. And another important thing is that, you know, everyone is into AI, into this digital tech solution. I think we also need to prioritize and, you know, not jump on the bandwagon because everybody's doing it. But if we want to prioritize, we still need to train first internally before we expand into other AI-related solutions or systems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it is great to see both of you following the same approach. So like the key message here is it's important to build capacity in these areas which would be upcoming and are important. Nitin, you also want to add it quickly, very quickly, 1 minute. I want to conclude because this will close automatically in 5 minutes.
No, I just want to make a very important point, which is usually missed, which is that as important as it is to train people on AI, I think it's all the more important to train AI on everything. And that is what is needed to be built more than actually training people. That we need to make sure that the AI should be trained locally in the market and for local solutions. And usually that is what is not happening, and that is what is bringing in biases from different words, because these AI is trained somewhere else and brought in as a solution somewhere else. So I think that is one thing that we need to make sure as providers, probably also as central bank, as policymakers, whoever is implementing AI solutions, to make sure that we train it properly. And AI being trained is most of the time even more important than training your people to be kind of to build those solutions. Yeah, that's it.
Very important. No, it is a very important point. Thank you for flagging it and bringing it up. So, and now we just have 4 minutes left. So I would like to thank our colleagues from Center for Financial Inclusion for this opportunity and all of our members here for this enriching discussion. Thank you for all your insights. And in terms of messages, I would like to highlight 3 main key messages that stood out as really important from these discussions is implementing and advocating for user-centric recourse, and which is, of course, at the heart of the UN responsible principles as well. So as much as we could try to work according to users' preferences and needs, that's very important, be it through multiple information channels, local language-enabled voice messages. Preferences and needs of users should be at the center of all the discussions to build trust in digital payments, particularly for excluded groups like women. Then championing a unified whole of government approach, which our members Ghana and Philippines both are already doing, but it is very important for all the stakeholders to be aligned and working together, including government entities, industry associations, and agencies. Such collaboration is essential to achieving a comprehensive implementation of consumer recourse mechanisms. And the third point is around responsible use of technology. And also, as Nitin was just mentioning, it is very important. And like we also discussed it during the discussion, it is very important to see if these AI models are also trained in context of local markets. Right now, most of them rely on English language. There have been no local languages, or the data has been skewed. So, and especially to prioritize women for responsibly using AI, it is very important to collect and analyze sex disaggregated data. And it is one of the most important messages in both UN responsible principle for digital payments, specifically principle 3, prioritizing women, and reaching financial equality, which has been recently updated, and you can find it on the Better Than Cash Alliance website, to ensure greater inclusivity and reduce gender discriminatory biases. So these were 3 of the main important messages. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And thanks again to all our panelists. Thank you.